Hello, readers and writers. I am Anthony L. Manna, and I'm also known as Professor Grandpa Tonio, the book guy and the writing guy. Welcome to my folklore treasury, where very old stories called folktales and fairy tales never grow old because they are told, remembered, and read over and over and over again. Today, I'm excited about sharing a story with you from a collection of these old tales I reimagined and wrote with my friend from Greece, Soula Mitakidou, in a book we call Folktales from Greece, a Treasury of Delights, with photographs by Georgios Katsangelos and traditional drawings by Anastasia Valavanidou. Are you ready for a story with a lot of weird events? Here are a few. Objects talk and must be silenced. Magical combs and a magical scarf help two runaway characters escape from an ogress, also known as a sorceress, a witch even. And a kiss of forgetfulness causes the prince to fall into a deep trance. Even the title seems weird. It's Anthousa, Xanthousa, Christomalousa. Three names given to the story's heroine, a brave girl given to her by an ogress, the sorceress. Call her a witch. In Greek, Anthousa means blossoming, Xanthousa means fair-haired, and Christomalousa means golden hair. Why is this brave beauty being kept hidden in a tower? What happened to her when she escaped from the tower with her new boyfriend? Is she and her boyfriend going to survive the ogresses, the witches, horrible powers? Well, think about these things as I read to you from Folktales from Greece, a Treasury of Delights by Anthony L. Manna and Soula Mitakidou. Here we go. Anthousa, Xanthousa, Christomalousa is the title of this story. Once in a time ages ago, there lived a couple who wanted a child of their own. Day after day, they knelt before the icon of the saint of their village and they prayed for a child. But no child would come. But one day, while they were praying, an ogress, call her a sorceress, call her a witch, who happened to be passing their cottage, heard them. Cry no more, she told them. You will have the child you long for. Her name will be Anthousa, Xanthousa, Christomalousa, for she will blossom into a beauty 5 times more radiant than the sun. But when this child reaches 7 years, I will come for her. From that day on, she will stay with me. To have a child for 7 years would be better than to have no child at all, the couple thought, and so they agreed. And when the child was born, there were no words to describe the parents' joy and their love that grew from year to year. But in 7 years' time, to the very hour, the ogress appeared. Oh, how the parents of Anthousa, Xanthousa, Christomalousa cried, because the ogress took Anthousa, Xanthousa, Christomalousa, and brought her to live in a tower, her tower, to keep her hidden from all humans. Oh, it was a gloomy tower made of dark, rough stones that rose above the trees surrounding it. The tower had no doors, and its only opening to the world was a very window at the very, very high top. There, the child, Anthousa, Xanthousa, Christomalousa, grew into a startling beauty with long flowing tresses of hair the color of pure gold. Now, in another part of the kingdom, there lived an old woman, an enchantress, known throughout the countryside for her special, very special powers. For 7 long years, this wise old woman, this sorceress, this enchantress, had craved lentil soup, but every time she tried to make it, something was missing. When she had lentils, she could find no onions. When she had onions, she could find no oil. And when she had oil, she could find no water. Then one day, the old woman, this enchantress, got all the ingredients together in one place, made the soup, and stood the pot in a nearby stream to cool. And then she moved off to the side of the stream to wait. At that very moment, the king's son, Prince Phivos, happened to be passing by and took his horse to the stream to water it. At the sight of the pot, his horse grew frightened and would not drink. Prince Phivos became so angry that he kicked the pot and outspilled the lentil soup all over the place. Seeing what the prince had done, the old woman grew furious and cursed him with a magical spell, saying, "Just as I have hankered for this soup, you will hanker and crave for the girl called Anthousa, Xanthousa, Christomalousa, the beauty with the long golden hair, and I will make you crave for her." Stung by the old woman's curse, the prince could think of nothing but this beauty. For 3 long months he roamed from village to village until he came to a place where Anthousa, Xanthousa, Christomalousa lived. He just knew it. He could feel her presence. When Prince Phivos found Anthousa, Xanthousa, Christomalousa's tower, he looked here and there for an entrance, but could find none. He spotted a nearby tree, climbed it, and looked for a way in. At that very moment, there appeared the hideous ogress. Remember her? Oh, yes. She eats human beings. There she was. The ogress approached the tower, stood below it, and called out. Yes, called out, Anthousa, Xanthousa, Christomalousa, throw down your hair for your mother to climb up. At that, Anthousa, Xanthousa, Christomalousa, a startling beauty, appeared at the window and threw down her hair for the ogress to climb up. Together they ate and drank, and when it was time for Anthousa's mother to leave, she climbed down just as she had climbed up, using Anthousa, Xanthousa, Christomalousa's long, beautiful hair. Once the ogress left, Prince Phivos came down from the tree and stood next to the tower. My Anthousa, my Xanthousa, my Christomalousa, throw down your hair for me to climb up. Hearing this, Anthousa, Xanthousa, Christomalousa threw down her hair for the prince to climb. The moment Prince Phivos laid his eyes on this beauty, he told her he wanted her for his wife. And I want you for my husband, she said, startled as she was by his gentleness. And of course, the prince, being the first man who longed to be with her, to be her friend, Anthousa, Xanthousa, Christomalousa thought, Where will I hide him? Where will I hide you? She said, when my mother, the ogress, returns, for if she finds you here, she will surely eat you. Anthousa, Xanthousa, Christomalousa wrapped the prince in a quilt and put him in a chest. Then she quickly mopped the floor to rid the house of the smell of a human. When it grew dark, the ogress returned and called to her daughter as before. Upon entering the tower, the ogress sniffed here and there. Ah, there is the smell. There is the smell. There is the smell of a human in here, she said. Oh, you must have eaten someone you forgot about, and the smell still lingers, her daughter explained. The night passed, and as soon as the ogress left the next morning to go hunting in the dark, deep woods, Anthousa, Xanthousa, Christomalousa took the prince out of the chest, and the two of them plotted their escape. Now, let me tell you that in this tower all the objects could speak, indeed, to keep them from telling the ogress what they had done and where they were going. Anthousa, Xanthousa, Christomalousa, and Prince Phivos covered the mouth of every object in the room, and then, of course, they fled. Soon afterward, the ogress, the sorceress, the witch, returned to the tower and once again called to her daughter to let down her hair. Again and again she called, My Anthousa, my Xanthousa, my Christomalousa, where are you? When Anthousa, Christomalousa did not appear, the ogress scaled the wall and entered the house. Well, she called it a house. Everyone else knew it was just a tower to hide away her daughter. Oh, when she got up to that tower, the girl was nowhere to be seen. My Anthousa, my Xanthousa, my Christomalousa, where are you? The ogress called again and again and again, with their mouths sealed. None of the things in the tower could tell her that her daughter had escaped with Prince Phibos. None but the mortar. For in their haste to live, the young couple had forgotten to cover the mortar's mouth. From its distant corner, the mortar spoke up.
Yesterday,
It said,
the king's son came, and she hid him. And now they have run off together. And see what you can do to find them, dear one. Crazed with rage, the ogress flew to her stables where she kept a bear. She mounted the bear and raced after the couple. On and on she rode until she caught up with them. Now, Anthousa, Xanthousa, Christomalousa had taken with her 2 magical combs and a magical scarf. When she saw that the ogress was just behind them, she threw down one of the combs. At once a vast swamp appeared behind them, which the ogress and her bear could not cross. 1,000 times the bear tried to cross over. 1,000 difficulties it faced until at last it crossed the swamp with the ogress on its back and reached toward the couple. Anthousa, Xanthousa, Christomalousa tossed the other comb behind her, and in an instant a path overgrown with dense thorns blocked the ogress's way. By the time the bear and the ogress untangled themselves, the young couple had fled to the plain's farthest reaches, way, way beyond the ogress. But still, the bear went on and on it went until once again it caught up with the couple. This time, Anthousa, Xanthousa, Christomalousa flung her scarf over her head, and a vast sea flooded the countryside, making it impossible for the ogress to use her powers as a sorceress, as a witch, to reach them. No, she could not reach them. The ogress had no choice but to let her daughter go. But first, she gave her a warning. "My child," she cried across the sea, "you left your mother to follow this man, but I tell you, as soon as you reach his father's kingdom, he will leave you. He will have you wait in a tree while he fetches his mother, the queen, to come and take you to the palace. But when his mother welcomes him with a kiss, he will forget you and look for someone else to marry. When this happens, come down from the tree, go where they are making bread for the wedding feast, and ask for a piece of the dough. Don't hesitate, make haste. With this dough, make 2 birds and send them to the prince to make him think of you. To make him think of you." and maybe he will bring you back to my tower. I don't know. All happened just as the ogress had warned. When Anthousa, Xanthousa, Christomalousa, and Prince Phivos came near to his father's palace, the prince asked the girl to climb up a tree and wait for him to go and fetch his mother. There, Anthousa, Xanthousa, Christomalousa waited and waited and waited. When no one came for her, she remembered the ogress's words. She climbed down, disguised herself as a beggar, and went to the bakery. What have you to do with this dough? She asked the baker in her beggar disguise. Our king's son is getting married, and we're making bread for the wedding feast, I guess. The baker replied. Anthousa, Xanthousa, Christomalousa tried this and she tried that until she managed to take a lump of the dough from the baker. Well, she actually just reached out and grabbed a piece and fled. Following her mother's advice, she made 2 birds with the dough and sent them to the prince. Then she returned to her tree, climbed it, and waited and waited and waited. Meanwhile, at the prince's windowsill, the 2 birds began talking to each other. Do you remember, I wonder, how you searched for me for 3 months? Asked one of the birds. I don't remember, replied the other. By any chance, do you remember how you came to my tower, climbed a tree, waited for my mother to leave, and then called to me, my Anthousa, my Xanthousa, my Christomalousa, throw down your hair for me to climb up, and I let down my hair, and you came to my room, and I wrapped you in a quilt and hid you in a chest? I don't remember. Do you happen to remember how my mother came to the tower to eat, and the minute she left, I took you out of the chest and we fled? And how my mother later returned and seeing that I was missing came after us riding a bear? The first bird asked. I don't remember. Do you remember then how I threw down my combs and twice kept the bear away, but still it climbed up with us, and then it caught up with us and tried to even climb up there? How I then tossed a scarf over my head and it became the sea, in which my mother and the bear could not cross? Asked the first bird. I don't remember. Perhaps you remember how you made me climb a tree while you went to fetch your mother, but your mother kissed you and you fell into a trance and forgot me? The first bird asked. Oh, I remember, the second bird cried. Prince Phivos had been listening to all this talk, of course, but at first he could make no sense of it. Then, suddenly, it all came back to him. He ran to the tree where Anthousa, Xanthousa, Christomalousa was waiting for him and asked her to come down, which she did. They were married the next day, and the wedding feast lasted 40 days and 40 nights, and everyone rejoiced in having a new princess. Well, I was there too. And the king's wife, you know, the king's wife, the queen, treated me to 3 gold cups of their best wine, and I liked it a lot. And that ends the story of Anthousa, Xanthousa, Christomalousa. Thank you for listening to my story from Folktales from Greece, a treasury of delights. Enjoy and see you the next time.